Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash, and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. So I just want to touch on this article real quick, all right, going into prophecies, all right, according to what the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is doing, in the world, working on the minds of these kings. As you see here, it says France and Poland don't speak for NATO, all right, coming out of Italy. So you have different NATO country leaders that have different ideologies when it comes to this war against Russia that they're, supposedly backing Ukraine in, which is causing dissension openly between, the beast. Okay, and as we know, prophecy states, which as the scripture says, that the Lord's words are true, right? And they will, come to pass, that eventually this, this division that is within the beast is going to lead up to particular NATO countries hating the whore and shooting her with missiles, as it says in Revelation in the 17th chapter, it shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, and the way it's going to burn her with fire, the her being Babylon the Great, is by way of missiles. All right, those ICBM missiles. Let's read it. It says, sending NATO troops into Ukraine would block any diplomatic efforts to stop the conflict between Kyiv and Moscow, Rome has warned. France and Poland have no right to speak for all NATO members when it comes to deploying troops to Ukraine. Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto told La Stampa newspaper in an interview published on Sunday. The move would only lead to escalation and damage diplomatic efforts to end the hostilities between Moscow and Kyiv, he added. So you have, once again, these NATO members, right, which we know what NATO is prophetically, is the beast written about in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, right, which the whore, who is Babylon, the great America, right, the mother of harlots, she rides upon the beast, meaning that she, she is the head. And even when you read in the news, a lot of time when they refer to NATO, they typically say U.S.-led NATO organization, because it is the American government, right? The American country, although it's a part of NATO, it leads NATO. All right, it's kind of like when they would speak about, Michael Jordan and the Bulls. So they would say Michael Jordan and the Bulls take on, Indiana Pacers, but Michael Jordan was a part of the Bulls also. So that is why when John received the revelation of the whore and the beast, all right, when he saw that vision, he saw it as two separate entities, but they have the same they're part of the same group, all right, or organization, which is why even in Revelation the 17th chapter, it said that all of these kings had one mind to give their power unto the beast. And that power they gave unto the beast was through their military spending. Okay, they all have, all of these various different countries that are a part of NATO have an obligation to spend a certain amount of their GDP on the military defense and military capabilities of NATO. All right, and you have Trump speaking very stout against his fellows when it comes to them, these various other different European countries not spending their fair share of, according to their agreements or alliance, in their military spending on NATO. So that is causing a rift between the whore and the beast. But even amongst the beast, which this article is going into, you have different European countries that are at odds with one another. So what does that show you? That shows you that the prophecy or the vision that even Daniel received about the iron and the clay, right? Iron and clay don't mix, okay? And we know that the iron represents stronger NATO countries like Germany, the UK, etc. Then you got weaker NATO countries, which represents the clay, within NATO, like what's a weak country? You got Spain, right? Um, I believe Greece isn't part of NATO. Those are some of the weaker military countries. So let's keep going. It says the minister was commenting on recent statements by French President Emmanuel Macron and Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw, each of whom has entertained the possibility of sending NATO troops to aid Kyiv. Last week, the French leader said the West cannot exclude the possibility of NATO forces being deployed to Ukraine. His comments sparked a wave of denials from senior officials of member states, including the UK, Czech Republic, Finland, and Sweden. Right, so Czech Republic, Finland, Sweden were also, I believe that's they're recently just joined, if I'm not mistaken. But they those will be considered as a part of the clay, all right, countries when you go into Daniel's the 10th chapter, the second chapter, which we'll get. It says, who insisted that they harbored no such plans. Poland had initially said it would not send any troops to Ukraine. On Friday, Sikorski said that Russia's military operation in Ukraine requires asymmetric escalation on the part of the West, adding that the presence of NATO forces in Ukraine is not unthinkable. And Russia said that if any NATO troops enter into Ukraine in a combat way, then they're going to have to resort to nuclear strikes. All right, and Russia isn't backing down, because as prophecy has it, which once again all of this is prophecy. All right, and that's why it's important to know prophecy, as the scripture says that the spirit of the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. Because when you know what the prophecies are and how they link to today, then you're able to understand, you're able to measure the times diligently within themselves. All right, the signs. Okay, it says Macron has repeatedly stated that he stands by his remarks. This week, he said there are no limits to the West's option in supporting Kyiv. France and Poland can speak for themselves, but not on behalf of NATO, Crosetto said about the developments. He also stated that making these arguments now make no sense. Any potential NATO troop deployment to Ukraine means taking a step toward one-sided escalation that would block the path to diplomacy, the minister warned. And guess what? There is no path to diplomacy. There is no way for de-escalation, because as we read in the book of, we'll come back to this, Mark the 3rd chapter, as we read in the book of Zephaniah, the 3rd chapter, verse 8, it says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right. So this is what the Lord has purposed to do. All right. He is gathering the nations. Joel, the 3rd chapter, as we can, we constantly have been bringing out, because we are in a time of proclaiming this among the Gentiles of the nations to prepare war. That is why it's only going to be escalation. They can speak about wanting diplomacy and wanting to come to a ceasefire all they want, but the Lord said he has determined to gather the nations. And whenever you look out into the world and these various different geopolitical battlefields, Nothing is getting calmer. All right. You have, and this is a whole nother topic, but you even have with the I mean, this all goes into the same thing technically. Um Netanyahu said recently that he doesn't care about Joe Biden's red line, because Joe Biden said that he doesn't, his red line for Israel, the 48ers, is crossing, sending troops into Rafah. And Bibi, he just said that, and I don't, and that's not my red line. We're going to send troops into there, so that's going to cause even more divisions amongst these these Edomites, various different Edomites, conglomerate countries. So Satan house is truly being divided, internally and externally, right? And I say internally, speaking about here in America, you got division amongst the Babylonians, but on a world scale, right? On a world scale, all of these various different Edomites are divided against each other, right? Certain European countries are divided on whether or not they will send troops into Ukraine. All right, the 48ers is divided against Babylon on how they're handling the war, against Hamas, and so on and so forth. So Esau is looking very, very unstable right now as a whole. Okay, and that doesn't spell anything except disaster and calamity coming for his kingdom. You see? And the Lord is the one that is doing this, because once again, he dealeth in the kingdoms of men. Okay? He is the one that has the minds of these various different leaders and rulers. As it says that he is the father of spirits. And he's doing all this for what? For the controversy of Zion, to ultimately bring in the destruction of Esau, Edom, and his world and his kingdom and his rulership, and usher in the kingdom of his son Yahushua, which will be the kingdom of Israel on earth, all right, as it is in heaven. So let's go back. It says, according to Crosetto, Kiev's Western backers should focus on diplomacy, since they are struggling to keep up with Russia's military production capacity, because the Lord put those hooks into Russia, right, into Gog and Magog. And he's also got the mind working on their mind as well, right? On Putin and the Iranian leaders, on all of these kings, man. All right. Our power, our God is the God of the earth. They can claim, they can, worship Allah and say that they're fighting in, some holy war in the name of their God, of their religion, all they want. All right. But it's all vanity, as the scripture says in the book of Psalms. Let's get that real quick. Psalms, the second chapter, verse 1. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Okay, it's a vain thing to think you're going to have diplomacy. It's a vain thing for all of these heathen countries to think that they somehow got next, right? That they're capable, that they're positioning themselves to be the next superpower. All of that is a vain thing. That's futile plans, as it says in the NLT. Then why do they waste their time with futile plans? Okay, because once again, it is the Lord's purpose that will be done. All right, and no one can disannul it. No one can stop it. So let's read on. It says, Moscow is more equipped and agile than NATO. When it comes to military production, the defense minister said, adding that the West has discovered that it has a much lower production capacity than Russia. So you got NATO member countries are stating that Russia is better, is in a better position than they are, militarily. That if Russia and America went to war, Russia and NATO went to war, Russia would win, and that's not even adding the alliances, right, and the allies that Russia has, like China, like Iran, okay, North Korea, so on and so forth, right? So, yeah, NATO, the beast, isn't as big and bad and unbeatable as they thought they were, or as they were once, once upon a time, because the weak have said, I am strong. It says the minister noted that NATO has managed to slightly increase its ammunition production capacity in the years since it promised to supply Kyiv with 1 million artillery rounds, Slovakia, but that it still remains lower than Russia's capacity. Under these circumstances, the West must give all possible support to Kyiv, but consider helping in another way, Corsetto said, adding that Western nations should activate diplomatic channels. Earlier, Pope Francis called on Kyiv to have the courage to engage in talks with Moscow to save lives rather than allowing the bloodshed to continue. He also said that there is no shortage of nations and international actors, including himself, who are willing to act as mediators in this regard. So that's all just vain talk. All right, it's all vain talk because the Lord has put it in their minds to fulfill His will. Revelation the 17th chapter, right? And you can have these commentaries all you want, this rhetoric of trying to come to some type of agreement and talking, but that is not what's going to happen. Okay. Hey, the scripture says, let's get that real quick as well. Isaiah, I want to say it's either the 48th chapter or 40th chapter. 48 verse 22. There is no peace, saith Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, unto the wicked. Okay, there is no peace talks unto the wicked. We are in a time of the Lord's vengeance upon Babylon, upon Esau's hegemony, his kingdom, his rulership in a whole, his age. All right, this is the end of Esau. The end of the world is linked to the end of Esau's rulership. All right, and the end of the world meaning eon, age. All right, his age as being the having the dominion of the earth. And so yeah, let's go now, because like I said, this is showing, right, that there is a division amongst even troops, countries within NATO, right? European countries within NATO. So when we go to the book of Daniel, we're gonna go straight to the point, verse 43. So like in 42, it says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And I already broke that down. How you have within NATO within the EU countries, within NATO, which have EU countries in it, and also has America and I believe Canada as well. You have certain countries that are stronger militarily, politically, and other countries, and those will be the countries that are iron, and you have other countries that are weaker. All right, although they're still part of NATO, right? It says, whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Okay, now when you go into the NLT here, it says this mixture of iron and clay, remember these represent countries, also shows that these kingdoms will try to strengthen themselves by forming alliances, aka the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, right? They have different alliances. They have within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, they have articles, which Article 5 is one of them, that basically states that they had to come to the defense. If one country gets attacked within NATO, then all countries have to come to the offense. However, you just had Trump, right, said if he gets back, when he gets back in presidency, that that Article 5 may not apply to every single NATO country. The ones that are not paying their fair share of their military spending dues. See, but they strengthen themselves by forming these alliances. It says with each other through intermarriage. Now, it's not through intermarriage, but marriage represents an agreement or a covenant, right? An allegiance to one to another, and they do that through those various different articles and agreements that they have. All right, so that's how they strengthen each other. But going to the point, it says, but they will not hold together, just as iron and clay do not mix, right? And reading it in the NET, it says, and in that you saw iron mix with wet clay, so people will be mixed with one another without adhering to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. So they're not adhering to one another, and that is why you have this rhetoric happening right now, which we read in this article. Why you have certain countries saying one thing, and then other countries are saying, nah, we don't agree with that. They don't speak for all of us. They could do that, but we're not doing it. They're not adhering. They're not taking one. They don't have one counsel or one mind when it comes to this war against Russia, which is that war prophetically that is going to cultivate into the destruction of Babylon the Great and the destruction of Esau's rulership, because Yahweh Shai himself with the host of heavens is going to return during this time as well. Okay. But this is a sign that shows you that America, or should I say Esau, right? His kingdom is through. All right. It's coming to its end. Mark the 3rd chapter, verse 24. It says, if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if an house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. All right. The house of Esau, right? It says, similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. You know what? Let me read this in the NLT, all of it. Verse 24, it says, a kingdom divided by civil war will collapse, right? And this month, you got that movie coming out, Civil War. You already been hearing multiple talks about potential civil war coming from officials or even on down to the citizens, right? It says, similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart, right? Esau, the house of Esau, is technically a family. All of these Edomite countries, even Putin and Russia, those are Edomites, right? But they're feuding against other Edomites. And then within the alliance of the NATO, those are Edomite countries, they're feuding. So it says that will fall apart. And if Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He will never survive. All right. And Satan is, the wicked comes after the working of Satan. So you got Satan, American Edomites fighting against satanic European Edomites, against Russian satanic Russian Edomites. It's all coming. It's all going to come apart. It will not stand. Okay, so this is beautiful to see, right? The Lord is showing us that His word is true and it's faithful, and it's happening right before our eyes. All right, the effect of every vision. So this is one to bring that out, Lord willing. This was edifying and informative unto the elect. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. All right, keep watching. Stay strong. Shalom.